need to repeat that?
I don't think you're speaking into the microphone.
I didn't have it on. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the April 24th, 2025 meeting, 6 o'clock. We will now get it started. Can I get a roll call, please?
Councilmember Jensen.
Present.
Councilmember Morgan. Here. Councilmember Orbach.
Here.
Vice Mayor Peterson.
Here.
And Mayor Clark.
Here. Everybody, please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Just item 2, additional materials.
So I believe item 2 on tonight's agenda is actually additions or deletions to the agenda, which I don't believe staff has any. And then item 3 would be presentations, but did you want to take additional materials before then?
No, I just have it out of order here. We'll take presentations first.
Great. Tonight for the City Council, we have a presentation from the Cabrillo College Stroke and Disability Learning Center. Sally Weiss is here to present.
Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm going to follow the slides myself. Am I going to be able to see them just up here?
Yes.
Perfect. Thank you.
1 second.
Well, thank you so much for the opportunity to come this evening and give you just a little bit of a snapshot of one of your partner agencies through the community grants. I really appreciate the chance to express our gratitude for your trust, for your generosity, and really for some of the stability that funding gives us, particularly over the last few years as we have been rebuilding after COVID impacts. So we are an education program. We're specifically for adults who have an acquired disability. Mostly that's through health impacts, typically stroke, could be MS, Parkinson's, could be a traumatic brain injury, but adults have really had a significant change in functioning. And so we're very health adjacent. Our instructors are licensed practitioners, but participants are coming to us as students. And so they're coming really relearning their priorities, their skills, their capacity with a whole different set of abilities. And so they come as students, they learn together, they're collaborating together, often with very different bodies, different brains, different sense of identity, but doing it in a very empowering way. So our logo is standing tall, and that's what we want to see happen for our students, that they're going to be adults standing tall in health and wellness and staying in community together. And love spoken here is our motto, and it really speaks to the atmosphere of the program, that it is a very dignified, accepting place for adults to be doing this kind of learning. Thanks. We have about 170 to 180 students in our program over a year, and about 8% of those students are Capitola residents. So of the Capitola residents currently in our program, they're actually range in age from their early 30s to the early 90s. Most are in their 50s to early 70s. About half have had a stroke. We have an amputee, others with MS, traumatic brain injury, seizures, really all kinds of things that reflect a significant change in their experience. One of those students lives in supported living, the rest are at home with family caregivers. And so as we work with students, we're often having an impact on the household as well. 2 are low income and receive scholarship support, and we never turn away a student on the basis of any inability to pay. So it's a very accessible program. So in terms of the impact of the program and your funding, we are back to our full capacity of 33 classes each fall and spring. Most of those classes are near full. We do assess the impact of our classes, and typically about 85 to 95% of students either improve or maintain their mobility capacity as a result of their classes, and thinking that to maintain mobility, if you have an impact that is causing decline, is also a success. And then we have various assessments in terms of communication and things that are about engaging socially and assessing those and coming up with similar results. Thanks. In addition to the adults in the program, because we're on a campus, we also have the capacity to be a very educational and advocacy-driven program. We collaborate with other departments on campus, so students across campus get to understand about the impacts on these adults. All nursing students do a rotation through our department. And then we have graduate speech and language pathology interns, we have medical assisting interns, and we're just launching our own internship program for Cabrillo students heading into health industries. So we want to be raising that awareness of what is often an underserved population. Thanks. I can tell you about the impact, but I just want to share a couple of student statements because they happen to be writing some letters to community donors recently. As from students, thank you for your support. It's my social community and I'm learning to move and think better after my stroke. And from another student, thank you for your support in giving us a place to look forward to coming to, building community, socialising, learning and laughing in. A most heartfelt thanks to you all. We do like to say, so in terms of how it's applied, it is personnel applied to 3 positions in particular, a couple of instructional assistants and our program coordinator, all really key positions in the program. We're a fairly small staff, we're all part-time, and so every dollar really does go a very long way. We do like to say that the program is not just for the adults in the program, it's really for all of us. And in many respects, as we are all together, I think, working to figure out what it is to be an age-friendly community, we want to do that with this population in mind as well. So our students are also our educators, giving us their stories, their perspective, their experience about what it is to create open space, welcoming space, remove barriers that don't need to be there for these adults. So in many respects, this program is actually for all of us as we learn together. So thank you so much for your generosity, for being partners with us, and please know that you're welcome anytime. We'd love to welcome you and tour you through if you ever over there and can join with us. So thank you.
Thank you so much. What a great program, a gift to our community. I've had several friends and neighbors that have used your services. So thank you. Is there any questions from the council?
No questions, but thank you for the work that you do.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Item 4, additional materials.
Staff distributed additional materials for item 7D prior to tonight's agenda. There was a correction to the exhibit in the resolution in the agenda packet that was provided last week. In addition, for item 8C, 4 emails were received after publication of the agenda packet. All additional materials were made available to the council before tonight's meeting.
Thank you. That'll bring us to oral communications by members of the public. Members will have up to 3 minutes to speak. And you can state your name if you wish it on the record. Welcome.
Hi, thank you. I'm Tony Campbell. I'm a member of the Friends of the Capitola Library. I spoke with this council about a year ago to let you know that, the plan to put solar panels on the roof, which we're paying for, had been approved by the county. When the city couldn't do it, Jamie talked the folks over there into doing it, which is great. Good news, the RFP went live last Friday. I've been watching online and can see that there are 5 vendors who are looking at it, so there's interest. The plan is that the bid will be given out about the second week of June. About the first week of August, the Board of Supervisors will accept the bid or I don't know what they do, but you know there's a verb that describes that. Anyway, then we roll, and the plan is now that the system will be in by the end of this year. And when I spoke with you before, not the you, but who was here before, I said that we were putting solar panels on the roof of the library, and indeed we are. But in addition, we are also putting batteries in the building so that the batteries will be able to operate that building for 16 hours before they're actually used up. Think about it. You have a resiliency center right up the hill over there. I'd like you to know that this is funded entirely out of sales at the bookstore. Some of you may know we sell books for $1 and $2 a piece, sometimes a little bit more. But the tab will be about $550,000 by the time the dust settles. And we have it. And we are thrilled at the opportunity to make this happen in the community, give it a gift to everybody. And we hope you guys show up when we ceremoniously flip the switch and make that sucker work. So thank you.
Thank you. Welcome.
Hi, my name is Goran Klepic. I play basketball at J3 Park a lot. There is vandalism sometimes happening there, and also drug usage, marijuana, and maybe some other illicit drugs happening in the bathroom, the men's bathroom, which is sometimes really dirty and not clean. I just want to mention that. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Welcome.
Good evening, council members and mayor. I'm here tonight on behalf of concerned citizens of Capitola to let you know that Councilmember Peterson has recently moved to a new home. Unfortunately, his move has put him in violation of state and city laws since his new home is in the area of Prospect Heights, Santa Cruz, well outside of Capitola city limits. Government Code 36502 states that if during his term of office, he moves his place or residence outside of the city limits or ceases to be an elector of the city, his office shall immediately become vacant. Councilmember Peterson purchased his home as his primary residence in February of this year and is currently residing there. Therefore, his seat must be vacated immediately. Councilmember Peterson has misled the public even prior to his appointment to the city council and consequently has lost the trust of our community. He used a false Capitola address for his business. He publicly stated that he lived in Aptos while campaigning for city council in Capitola. He took a $15,000 city grant. After 3 years not meeting the performance contract, he finally returned it after being called out publicly. And let's not forget 8.72 of our city code. We do not take these allegations lightly as they include both civil and criminal penalties. In January of this year, former Santa Ana council member pleaded guilty to felony election fraud and had to pay $578,000 in restitution just for using a false address. So Mayor Clark, where do we go from here? Based on his current residence, state law requires his seat be vacated immediately. Tonight, a formal complaint was filed with the city clerk. We encourage you to advise your city manager and city attorney to be neither dismissive or sweep it under the rug as they've done with past formal complaints. Councilmember Peterson, you created the situation, not the residents of Capitola. So what happens next is based on your response tonight. I hope you understand the potential consequences of your actions are, aside from being vacated, as a minimum you have possible criminal record, pay steep fines, and confronted by public embarrassment. We're going to give you the opportunity to step down tonight and avoid likely civil and criminal charges. However, should you choose to ignore these accusations, we will simply forward the information to the district attorney's office. At that point, Alexander, it's out of our hands. The choice is yours. Let's start restoring the trust of our city officials by taking appropriate action. With that, I leave you to do the people's business. Thank you.
Welcome.
Thanks. My name is Mark Drummond. I just want to say, I know you guys, everybody here has gone through a lot. And I'm specifically talking about the rail trail and everything. There's been a lot of things going around, and I just want to offer an apology on my side. I spoke at one of the town meetings, and You know, it just, there's a lot of passion. We all, I think everybody here wants to protect this city. And I know that's in your best interest also. And I just want to apologize if I was somewhat offensive and a little bit, not anger, but I know there was anger and anxiety for all of us. And, you know, somehow there's, and I don't know what it is. I think it's just the nature of the job, but there's kind of a veil between these 5 chairs and us out here in a sense. Somehow we need to work on some communication that just makes it easier for all of us because we're all part of a community kind of thing. Then we all want the good of Capitola here. And we're a small city, but I think we certainly set a great example of kindness and respect for each other. That goes beyond these walls here, that would be relished by other communities. So thank you so much for all you've been through, and we appreciate it. I think there's a lot of people out here that appreciate it. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Seeing no further public comment? That'll bring us to staff comments.
I do believe we have an announcement this evening about the Historical Museum.
Council, I just wanted to give you a brief update and remind the public and council that the Capitola Historical Museum is now open. They opened mid-March, and they're open Friday through Sunday, noon to 4. Their new exhibition is called The Naughty Surf, Fashion Turning Points in Capitola 1860s to 1960s. It's really fun and relatable for all ages. So also just a note, they've almost doubled their visitation numbers this time to last year. So they've already had almost 600 people here in April alone, which is really exciting. And I wanted to encourage everyone to visit the museum, see the new exhibit, and also say publicly a huge thank you to our curator, Deborah Osterberg, for her dedication to the board and also to all the volunteers for their dedication and work to keep the museum open. It's free to the public because of all the work that they do. So thank you.
Thank you.
I will add to that. I will also note that we are always looking for museum volunteers. So if anyone in the audience or watching at home is interested in helping out with our museum, we have information about how to get in touch with us on our website. So please let us know. Thank you.
Great information. That'll now bring us to council comments, and I'll open it up with Councilmember Jensen.
Thank you. I can think first thing I'd like to do is just, I think it'll probably be a more formal process, but just wanted to congratulate our new captain here, who's sitting up here at the table for us. Been here many years, and we appreciate your service, and congratulations again. Couple items. 2 weeks ago, I attended our annual Monterey Air Resource Board meeting. It was just a general meeting. Just report back that we had our first reading of fee structure increases and also first reading of the budget. And next month, we'll be talking about legislation regarding batteries, mostly around what happened over at the Moss Landing plant. And we're reviewing the Senator Laird and also the Addis bill. So we're looking at both those and not as a recommendation, but just looking at what those are as structure for our community going forward. Just kind of a follow-up to our last week's meeting and follow up to Mr. Drummond's comments, who was here today. Those meetings were hard and they were contentious leading up to it, but I think our community kind of came together, spoke, and I think our council, with the actions, decided to uphold 8.7.2, which is very important. But since that time, many people in the community have reached out to me and said, it's time to look forward. Even going into that meeting, they were talking about what does it look like moving forward, coming together and uniting as a community, as Capitola, and then looking at a community outside of that. what does that look like? You know, I've heard many people, and I think what a group of community members are planning to do, and I'm in full support of it, is they're going to plan like a steering committee internal made up of community members. And they want to come together and look at what are the possibilities of what we can do as Capitola. How does that affect the long-range plans of our community, but then how does that connect overall with the county and with the RTC? And so I applaud those leaders that are coming forward as a community and what those are going to look like. And I'm looking forward to that. You know, I look at the challenges that Capitola has had in front of themselves over many years, and then also the things that we can celebrate. And, you know, they had a Friends of the Library campaign that happened that was amazing and raised a ton of money. It was by Gail's leadership. We had CWEP that came to the need of the city to enhance the wharf, and that was made up of 10 community members. That was very successful. And then you look at like Vision Capitola, and that's when the community really came together and tried to help set the tone of what things look like in Capitola. You know, last Friday, I had the honor of meeting Jimmy Panetta was in town, and I walked around the community with him, and he talked about the dynamic things that are going on in Capitola and what things look like. And he was surprised to see, you know, how fast everything has bounced back around. And, you know, it was very, it was a nice feeling to see the warmth above our council member, our congressman like that, reflect back onto the good things that happen in Capitola. And so with that, I'm looking forward to seeing the steering committee come together, you know, as like a group of community members and some ideas, and maybe they could come forward in the future and share those to us and show us how those things could look, and then, you know, how that bridge might come out to the RTC or to the county about how we could kind of tie both those things together. So, you know, I think sometimes the tough things happen in this, and we come out stronger. And so I'm looking forward to seeing that come to fruition and see what that's going to look like in the future for our community to kind of heal and move forward through that. And that is all I have at this time. Thank you.
Councilmember Orbach.
Yeah. Thanks. So I had my Metro board orientation on Friday, and I received a quick kind of overview from all of the department heads and got to tour their operations and maintenance facilities. Just want to share the top 3 goals of the agency so everyone knows. They want to double ridership to 7 million within the next 5 years. All new bus order purchases will be 0 emissions. And thirdly, they want to develop 175 affordable housing units on Metro property by the end of the decade. I'm sure you guys have heard the news that the new transit center in Santa Cruz will have 126 units of affordable housing. It'll be a mixed-use development with retail, office space, and a transit bay. There is also a Watsonville Transit Center in redevelopment currently, and it will also be a mixed-use complex with 85 units of affordable housing. I think building density with robust transportation infrastructure in mind is smart and sustainable urban planning. Metro is moving forward with lots of exciting projects. They're moving forward with rapid corridor projects as well. And I'd love to see something similar happen in Capitola along our 41st Avenue corridor whenever the mall gets redeveloped. Metro also celebrated Earth Day on Tuesday and provided free fares countywide for the entire day for county residents. In addition, I attended the first Children's Network meeting yesterday, where we received a presentation from the executive director of Jacob's Heart, Heidi Boynton, about the wonderful work her organization is doing by providing essential wraparound services to children with cancer. It's really heartening to see and hear about their impact in our community and the families that they serve in this county. We also passed a Children and Youth Bill of Rights, focusing on the importance of supporting every child's right to a healthy mind, body, and spirit. Thank you.
Councilmember Morgan.
Yeah, thank you. Congrats to the library for the solar panels. I've definitely bought my few dollar books from the malls, so I encourage everybody to do so. They have great gifts. But kind of coming off of what Councilmember Jensen said, I just want to reflect a little bit. You know, we've had some really big ticket items going on in Capitola, and I want to thank our community for being so involved. It really shows how much everybody really cherishes our little city. I want to thank my fellow council members for being thoughtful and committed to Capitola. This is no small feat, and I think we all are feeling that right now. But although we're just, you know, our 2 square miles here, there's always so much going on. It's not always something that's here on the dais or being voted on. And I just want to put forth my greatest thanks and gratitude to all of our city staff members, all the departments, administration, from the clerk to finance, Jim and Jessica for Public Works. We all know our Public Works department works 24/7. You see them out there, I see them out there. Next time you see them, please give them a nod or a cup of coffee. Community development, you're always, you know, thinking of new things and trying to move us forward. Obviously our police department, round the clock help, and our attorney, who is our attorney for many other cities. So I want to extend gratitude to your time and commitment to Capitola, along with our city manager, and that we're all in this together. And so I just want to put that out there. I think we should feel really accomplished for what we've been working on, and we have a way to move forward, and that's what I'm looking forward to. So thanks everybody for being here tonight and being present, and let's work together. Thank you.
Councilmember Peterson.
Thank you. I'd just like to briefly address the comments that were made about me today by TJ Welch, presumably on behalf of the concerned citizens. My primary residence is in the city of Capitola. Thank you.
Thank you. I would like to take Councilmember Jensen's idea and maybe put it on our next meeting's agenda. Or maybe we can just kick it around now and talk about an ad hoc committee. Getting your thoughts from the staff.
So Councilmember Jensen was talking about a citizens subcommittee or task force that was going to be looking at kind of options for moving forward. So are you suggesting maybe a future agenda item to consider how the city might participate in that? Is that your suggestion?
Yeah, I think it would take some discussion. So that would be what I'd like to see happen.
Okay, I think that's something.
So if I could just add, if the city council is involved, if it's an ad hoc committee and the city council wants to be on that committee, it wouldn't be an ad hoc committee and it would be subject to the Brown Act, which might not be, as we can see, the Brown Act can be quite cumbersome. It certainly would limit the flexibility of any community committee. So one idea would be to let the community come up with something organically and then share their conclusions or their findings with the city. But again, if the city council directs the work of the committee or places council members on the committee or directs the composition of the committee, it would likely be subject to the Brown Act.
Yeah, I think it was somewhere in between, but maybe coming more from the community, but I'll let Councilmember Jensen.
Yeah, and thank you for that clarification. Yeah, I can see it. Maybe formulate or kind of run under the Vision Capitola approach, and I think that was a citizen initiative. And then there's participation, and I know staff help augment that and provide the information on a request basis. So that might be a good way to start it. Just to, I think, brainstorm and create a more of a community approach at trying to solve the problems, and also maybe some education purposes for that. You fine with that?
I just want to clarify the objective of the group. Is the objective of the group going to facilitate in the success of segments 10 and 11?
What I've heard is just from the group is that they wanted to formulate a group of people together to help understand, look at what the possibilities were, the challenges, and try to brainstorm ideas. And so that's all I've heard. And so I decided it was great, and I just wanted to share that as just an idea with the citizens. I don't know what their outcome would be, and I think might be education to them on what segment 10 is and what segment 11 is.
This item is not on the agenda tonight, so I just want to remind the council of that. If the council would like for it to be on a future agenda, the council could give direction to staff to bring it to a future agenda, or the community could form a committee and then come and ask the city for what they might need.
I was just sharing that some of the comments I've heard out there, and that I thought that was a positive step going forward. So.
And I think it's a great idea. Where do we go from here after last week's decision? I think on the agenda is appropriate.
Okay, we can do that.
And the last of my comments is, in light of what was brought to us at public comment, obviously we cannot talk to matters such of those. So we will have to address it later. So we'll leave it there. That'll bring us to item 7, consent items.
I have a comment about 7A before we move it. Is that okay? We've had a lot of coverage from our meeting last week. I read all of the articles, and Good Times had a very inaccurate description of the 4 options, thinking they were trail options. Anyway, I think, in looking at the meeting minutes from that meeting, I think it's important that we include the 4 different interpretations of Measure L in there so that our residents can, retroactively look at it and kind of understand how we came to our decision. It's just not in the minutes. So if we can add that to ensure that our public record is complete, and just to ensure that the public has an opportunity to review the information that was presented and understand. Is that okay?
So I will note that the slides for the presentation are included in the overall record. And then I guess I would defer to the city clerk whether any further explanation in the minutes would be warranted.
So these are action minutes. Action minutes reflects the actions of the city council. And so the action, it's a little awkward because it's not exactly an action of like the outline of each of the items. And as the city manager stated, all 4 of the options presented to the council are included in the agenda packet, which is a record of the meeting, as well as the meeting footage. But we can pull this item from the consent calendar and it can come back to you with modifications at the next meeting.
Calling for it to be pulled.
Sure, I'd like to make a modification to include those 4 options.
So a motion to pull the item.
Sure.
I can second that. And then,
Do we have a first and a second? Do we need to have a vote? Roll call, please.
Councilmember Jensen?
Sure.
Councilmember Morgan?
aye.
Councilmember Orbach?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Peterson?
Aye.
Mayor Clark?
Aye.
With that, I'll move the consent items 7B, C, and D.
If you don't mind, if we can amend that, I have to recuse myself of D.
Oh,
So,
Why don't we do the first 2?
yeah,
yes.
sorry.
Yes, thanks.
Councilmember Jensen, the FPPC requires you to state the reason for your recusal, and I think it is that you live within 500 feet of the project that is the subject of item 7D, and so you have a presumed financial interest in the item. Is that your interest?
Yes, I was just making sure. I didn't know what time to say that, but exactly. Ditto.
Thank you. Okay. Okay, so you'll recuse, you stay at the dais. So, Mayor, I'll turn it back over to you.
So now we're looking at a motion for all 3? Or just B and C? Correct. B and C. We have a motion and a second.
I'll move 7B and C.
A second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I move item 7D.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 One recusal. All consent items pass. That'll bring us to item 8, general governance. A, appointments to city advisory bodies.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. Tonight, for your consideration, we have appointments to 2 of the city's advisory bodies. So as a refresher, members of the public are appointed to serve in a voluntary capacity on the city's advisory bodies, of which there are 5. When a member resigns before the end of their term, it creates an unscheduled vacancy. Unscheduled vacancies have requirements outlined in government code, which requires the city to advertise the vacancy to the public for a period of time and accept applications. And then the council should make appointments for the remainder of that member's term. Recently, we've received resignations from 3 members from 3 of the 5 advisory bodies, 1 art and cultural commissioner, 1 commission on the environment member, and 1 museum board member. So for the Art and Cultural Commission, again, as a refresher, it's composed of 9 volunteers, 5 at-large members, 1 artist, 1 art professional, 1 planning commissioner, and 1 city council member. The current vacancy is for 1 at-large position. The term expires in December of 2026. The entire council should appoint this person by motion, second, and vote. There are currently a number of applications on file. The Art and Cultural Commission bylaws do state that the commission should review the applications and provide a recommendation to the city council. The recommendations are noted on the screen with an asterisk, and there are 3 of them. I'm going to go through the presentation this evening, and then we can accept public comment before the council makes the motion, but the recommendation tonight would be for the council to appoint 1 person to an at-large position to this body. The Commission on the Environment is composed of 4 members and 1 council member. There's a current vacancy for 1 at-large position. The term also expires in December of 2026. There are currently 7 applications on file, and the bylaws state that Councilmember Orbach will be making this appointment. There are the names of the applications on file here. Here's staff's recommendation for Councilmember Orbach to appoint her representative. And then finally, just as a note, the Historical Museum Board is also listed tonight. However, there has not been a recommendation from this group for appointment. So while there are applications on file and there is a vacancy, the board has not been able to make a recommendation for this position. And so if the council desired to make an appointment, they could. However, the bylaws state that the board should make the recommendation for the city council, and they haven't been able to do that. So for that reason, it's not listed in the recommended action for tonight's agenda item. So with that, I am available for any questions, and then we can take public comment before moving to a motion.
Questions?
Do you know why the museum board hasn't made a recommendation for either of those applicants?
I'm not sure. I believe that they haven't been able to get in touch with the applicants.
That was my question. I was just wondering if there was like a time frame when they might put forth something.
We are going to be doing a larger recruitment for the museum board in June because their group is the only group in the city that has terms that expire in June. So we'll be doing a larger push for applications in the next month or so. And so that would probably prompt a larger review, and it'll come back to the city council probably at the second June meeting for appointment. Public comment?
We will now open up to public comment. State your name, if you please.
Can you make sure the microphone's turned on? Thank you.
Is it on now? Oh, yeah, it is. Okay, great. Good. So I'm Mary Beth Cahalan, and I'm chair of the Art and Cultural Commission, and I'm here at the request of the commission to let you know who they would like to see in the position that we have outstanding. We had lots of wonderful candidates, but we had two that we thought brought something to the commission that currently is not there. One was Enrique Domo, and the reason we liked him was he had the youth behind him. One of the things that we have been trying to do as a commission is to bring more youth activities into the group. So as a commission, we recommend him as our number one choice. Our second choice was Mr. McGuire, Kevin McGuire, and that was because of his band expertise. He has a lot of band and music expertise within the county that we currently do not have on the board. Our third, of course, is Leslie Jungman. She would be a wonderful candidate also, but I just wanted to let you know in the order of how we prioritized and why. Thank you very much. Good luck.
Thank you. Welcome.
Hi, good evening. My name is Luna Mar Harder, and I applied to be on the Commission of the Environment. And just wanted to come and reiterate my interest to be appointed to the commission. I strongly believe that local government has the power to transform our community for the better. And I think that through supporting environmentally friendly initiatives and resiliency, we can make a lot of great progress. So thank you.
Thank you. Welcome.
Hi, my name is Scott Rolfe. I'm also an applicant for the Commission on the Environment. And I've spent my professional career in resource management and resource protection. I've worked on the California Environmental Quality Act compliance. I've also spent time in land use planning. And I'm very familiar with the impact that people have on the environment and how the environment impacts us. And I'd just like to say I'd be honored to utilize that experience in an advisory capacity for the benefit of the city of Capitola, which is a city I grew up in and I now reside in. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else on public comment? Seeing none? Bring it back for council questions. You have the list up there if anybody had any questions on it.
I can move to appoint Enrique Dolmo to the Art and Cultural Commission.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passed unanimously. COE application. This is Councilmember Orbach's choice.
Yes.
If you need some help, you can ask. And
No. I just have a tough decision because I have many great candidates, but two who are present today who I asked to apply. So they're both here, and I have to make a decision because both are wonderful, both are great, both are working in the community and care about our community and have experience regarding our environment. So it's a really tough decision. And if I don't choose you, I still think you're great, and we can definitely figure out another capacity in which you can participate and be involved. I think for this evening, though, can I bring back the language to make the motion? Oh, I don't need to make a motion. Oh, I would like to choose Mr. Scott Ralph to be to be on the COE.
Thank you so much. Like I stated before, a similar item will be coming to you in June for museum appointments and applications. And so we'll be back in a couple of months with another review of applicants. And we really do want to thank everyone for applying. We really value the city's volunteers and members of these advisory bodies.
absolutely great choices. I can't remember seeing this many people stepping up and putting in for these positions. So greatly appreciate it for everybody. Thank you. That'll bring us up to item B, Santa Cruz County Multi-Jurisdictional Hazard Mitigation Plan. That's a lot to say. Or MJHMP.
Good evening, Mayor and Council members. I'm excited to give you an update today on a countywide initiative that we've been working on for a few months now. So we are doing an update not only to our hazard mitigation plan, but participating in a countywide multi-jurisdictional hazard mitigation plan. So I'm going to give you a little bit of background on what we consider hazards and what a mitigation plan is, and then give you a bit more information about the current effort. So when we think hazard mitigation, we're thinking of natural hazards like a lot of the storms we've had, coastal erosion, flooding, severe weather, and really how that affects our community in the long term and how we approach those challenges. It also, in addition to infrastructure, addresses community lifelines and operations. And really the goal is to reduce or avoid repetitive damage from disasters. Next slide, please. So why have a mitigation plan? If you look at a nationwide map, California and Texas and Florida have really high incidences of declared disasters. There's been approximately 34 since 1953 in Santa Cruz County. And as you know, if you're a resident of the county, it ranges from fires to floods to tropical storms, and then of course COVID-19 a few years ago. Next slide, please. So to have a mitigation plan is to really assess those risks for critical infrastructure, so public infrastructure, but also residential properties and then the residents who live in them. It's also to look forward to ensure to safe development, to engage the public in the process because really they are the stakeholders here and own most of the properties that we're talking about. And then integrating those into plans that we have, such as the general plan, our climate action plan, and our capital improvement plans with the public agencies. And the biggie with this one is having this plan makes us eligible for FEMA hazard mitigation grant programs, which is actually funding this hazard mitigation plan update and development. Next slide, please. So the city does have a local hazard mitigation plan. It was first adopted and developed in 2013 and updated in 2020. They are required to be updated every 5 years to stay eligible for hazard mitigation funds. Next slide, please. This effort identified critical facilities within the city. Some of them are city-owned, some of them are sanitation-owned. They include the fire district buildings and things that really are critical infrastructure to our community here. Next slide, please. So the multi-jurisdictional hazard mitigation plan is headed by the Santa Cruz County Office of Response, Recovery, and Resilience. So that is OR3. They applied for a grant from FEMA and received it for $250,000. The match for that grant is in staff time. There's 11 participating jurisdictions listed up here on the screen, and they procured and selected a consultant, Dynamic Planning and Science, who have done these in several locations throughout the state. The target for submission of this to FEMA, it does need to be approved by FEMA, is October 2025, and that's more or less in line with when our plan expires. Next slide, please. So these are also pages from our hazard mitigation plan. While the main text of the multi-jurisdictional plan will really include the whole county, each city or entity has their own index. So that includes all the Capitola specific hazards, all the Capitola specific history, next slide, and then all of our specific infrastructure and facilities at risk. So this is from our last 2020 plan, but these will be evaluated again as part of the multi-jurisdictional plan. Next slide, please. So we will profile all these hazards. Some of them are more relevant to us than others. While in Scotts Valley, wildfire is more of a risk. For us, coastal erosion is more of a risk. But really, it considers the county-wide efforts and how we really work together to mitigate all of these hazards. Next slide, please. And again, it also thinks of community lifelines. So not just critical infrastructure, but really county health, public health, our transportation systems countywide, how we have our law enforcement kind of response, really just across the board public services. Next slide. And then really we look at these hazards and then evaluate what kind of mitigation can be done for them. So the three kind of pillars here are changing the impact when these things occur, changing who it affects, changing the victim, and then also in ways that we can, changing the threat. So using, having projects that would reduce flooding or something of that sort. Next slide. So really the why here is to save lives and really save money. I mean, if you think about reducing liability, reducing damage, reducing recovery costs, keeping critical facilities operational, it's all about saving lives and then saving our resources. Next slide, please. So in the process, the county and the participating jurisdictions are really in the phase where we're looking for stakeholder involvement. Next slide, please. There are many outreach tools that OR3 and the consultant are using, including a public survey, providing resources to property owners. These things are located on the website, which I have a link to at the end of the presentation. And then they're also doing public outreach at several events throughout the county. Next slide. The public survey, I really encourage everyone to take. Again, a lot of the infrastructure here is really personal and private homes. They are the biggest asset. Our community is the biggest asset holder in the county. So the public survey is available both in English and in Spanish, and really is trying to get that information from our community about what they perceive their risks to be, depending on where they are in the county, and really how they are best able to prepare, or what incentives they need to prepare, or information they need to prepare. And then also, what are their priorities? Next slide, please. So here are the project links. There is a representative from OR3 in the audience if you have any specific questions to the county, and I'm happy to answer any questions you all may have.
Thank you for that presentation. I'll open it up to council questions.
I just have a quick one. Can we put the link to the survey and the website on our City of Capitola website so that we can encourage our residents and encourage more local feedback? Absolutely. We've also been sharing the social media posts. I think I've seen some of the social media posts, but if we have a permanent place for it, because I think I tried looking back through social media to find the link and things disappear. So if we can house it on our website, I think that would be a good idea.
Question, in the past, Capitola has done their own plan, is that correct?
Correct.
Right. And so with that, the only concern I had in the past, which I'm totally in favor of, from a county standpoint, but, when it's focused just on Capitola, maybe you might get more residents like attending a community meeting or something like that. So how do we ensure, I saw up there that talked about meetings and stuff like that. Is there going to be one specific for Capitola that a community will be able to participate in?
That's a great question. The consultant with OR3 is currently working on specific locations for their outreach this summer. I actually talked to them about it today, looking for a Capitola-specific event where our community members are already out for them to table at.
Great, that's great. And then just a question, I thought Santa Cruz didn't participate in that. Is there a reason why, just because their size, that they do these things internally?
They do have more resources on their staff to do these type of big planning efforts on their own, and they do have a current hazard mitigation plan.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much.
Questions on this side?
My question was answered. Thank you.
No, thank you.
Jessica, has Capitola staff had their breakout session with this group yet? Not yet. That is scheduled for May. Okay, great. Thank you for the detailed presentation.
I have no questions, so we'll now bring it and open it to public comment. You'll have 3 minutes to speak and state your name if you wish.
Hello, my name is Claire Peabody. I'm an emergency services analyst with the County Office of Response, Recovery, and Resilience, partnering with Capitola City staff on this effort. Just wanted to thank all of you, City Council members, for your attention to this item, and Capitola City staff for your teamwork and effort on making this a plan that is encompassing our whole community. It was a really exciting opportunity to have grant funding to combine this as a multi-jurisdictional plan and we've learned a lot so far through our initial planning meetings, and I'm looking forward to continuing working with city staff on this. Thank you.
Thank you. No further public comment. We'll bring it back for the council deliberation.
I just want to say thank you for the presentation. I'm excited to be able to work with our neighboring cities and the county. And I think it'll, Capitola does have its niche items on the list. So I hope that we can pay close attention to those as we move forward. Thanks.
So as recent local disasters have shown, hazards do not respect jurisdictional boundaries. And when floods, fires, and earthquakes and other disasters happen, inadequate and timely response requires coordination across multiple jurisdictions. On many fronts, I think this new regional approach is great, and I support it 100%. I appreciate the county and OR3 taking the lead on this critically important effort to reduce our long-term risks posed by natural disasters and set us up for mitigation grant funding for infrastructure improvements, drainage upgrades, vegetation management, seismic retrofits, and more. This was striking in the report. FEMA reports that for every dollar invested in mitigation, communities save up to $6 in future disaster costs. I want us to remember this as we move forward with our Stockton Bridge project, which is, I think, listed #1 on our hazard mitigations list. I look forward to reviewing the draft Capitola Annex in the near future. And that's it. Thanks.
Any further comments? Okay. Well, thank you, Claire Peabody, for your comments. I worked with your father for a long time, so it was nice to see you. Last time I saw you, you were just a little youngster. So thanks for coming. And we're looking for a motion. We're just looking for further information.
An informational presentation.
Great. Yeah, it's been a long time coming. I think it's going to be great to see it moving forward. Unless someone has something else? Great. You're still here. I was wondering if you were getting up and moving on. That'll bring us to item C, 41st Avenue pavement rehabilitation and multimodal improvements.
One more public works item for this evening. Good evening, Mayor and Council members. I have a few introductory slides, and then I'm going to invite our traffic consultant up here to give a detailed description of the project for you. Next slide, please. So the background for this 41st Avenue multimodal project, the bounds of this is from Clares Street north to the city limits, which is on the other side of the freeway. In 2022, our pavement management plan identified 41st Avenue in this area as need for heavy rehabilitation. And then in 2023, staff applied for a grant through the RTC and was awarded $1 million towards this effort. In September 2024, the council approved a design budget of $300,000 for Kimley Horn. And part of the reason this is such a large design is not only is this a arterial road, is very much within the Caltrans right-of-way that has a whole lot of things attached to it, as Chris will get into with you in a few moments. Next slide, please. Oh, and we're already there. So I'd like to invite Chris Breckian to provide the presentation for this project.
All right, this is on. Good. All right. Chris Breckeisen here with Kimley Horn & Associates. Thank you for having me. Next slide, please. Just going to go over, I guess we had some project background already, but we'll go over some project goals, objectives. We'll go over some of the project features and then some upcoming milestones for this 41st Avenue project. As Jessica explained, the limits of this project, they start, if you look there at the bottom of this map, at Clare Street and then continues north here through Gross Road and then crosses over State Route 1 and then stops at the city boundary right before Corey Street. For the existing conditions, we'll kind of, maybe we look at this as we would read a book here, start on the top left and work our way over to the right and then down. You can see here on this top left picture, there's a lot of spider cracking going on in this section of Capitola, as well as can visibly see the rut of where wheels have been driving over the pavement in multiple locations. Definitely a need for some resurfacing. Here in the middle, you can see here there have been a few locations where utility work has happened, and it comes through and they just replace that section. And, over time, that kind of builds and adds up and can be unsightly and also can cause more pavement issues. And then on the top right here, I'm just kind of showing this image here. This is from 41st Avenue looking north at the interchange here. So currently, if you wanted to decide if you're going to go northbound or southbound on State Route 1, it is not very clear what lane you should be in, especially if you are not a resident of Capitola, which is quite a few people who do visit this city, as I'm sure you know. That becomes difficult and can lead to different types of collisions and confusion. On the bottom left here, this is again showing some alligator cracking here, some pavement, different types of pavement failure that's going on. In the middle, this is a bike lane here that's out there right now. This is between Gross Road and the State Route 1 on-ramp. You have a bike lane where you're straddling between two lanes of traffic on a very busy corridor within Caltrans right-of-way. It's very uncomfortable. People, when they are trying to get on the freeway, as I'm sure you know, tend to speed up as if they're on the freeway already. So it's a very important aspect of this project to try to address that. And then the bottom right picture we have from Gross Road. The view here also showing the wayfinding, how you might not know which lane you need to be in to be able to access State Route 1. Is it the farthest left lane or the middle lane? That's unclear. So the project goals and purpose and goals after looking at some of those existing conditions, we want to have a full road surface reconstruction, and then also looking at enhancing the pedestrian and bicycle accessibility. That includes new crossings, signage, striping, and a separated bikeway where it permits. Also providing wayfinding improvements for accessing State Route 1 northbound and southbound. And then, looking to minimize the construction timing delays to the existing residents. And we'll get to on our milestones. We'll come back to that at the very end. So another thing to note here, the existing roadway speed. So from Clares to Gross Road, we've got a 30-mile-per-hour existing speed limit. It's posted. And then north of the interchange, as you enter into the county right away, it's 25 miles per hour. And we're looking, there's a lot of stuff going on there right now with different collision types. The number one collision type is due to speeding. It's rear end in this section of the corridor. And I think, and we've spoke with Caltrans, as Jessica alluded to. Caltrans is an interesting beast. We're very restricted on what we can and cannot do. And at the end of the day, they have the last say. And as part of this, we would like to have a consistent speed through this section of the road on either side of the interchange and reduce it to 25 miles per hour, especially due to the rear-ending collision types. Part of the roadway rehab that we're proposing here is called partial depth recycling. There was a similar project, it's a very similar, very minute difference, with CIR that was done on Clare Street a few years ago that Kimley Horn also assisted with. We'd be doing a very similar process on 41st. This is very cost effective, saves you a lot of money. If you were going to do this the old fashioned way, and you were just to grind and overlay, you would need to go through and find all of the areas where the pavement has failed. You'd have to rip out all of that pavement and replace sections of it. With this process, you're able to reuse the existing pavement, grind it up, and then, in layman's terms, compress it right back down where it was. and then add a few new layers of asphalt on top of that. It's very cost effective. This year, we're looking at a proposed the existing and proposed cross sections here. So the top one, we've got existing. This, as you can see here on the right, we have that bike lane that's straddling between, could be a truck and another vehicle trying to access the interchange. And here on the bottom image on the proposed, you can see we're adding some sort of delineator, which I'll explain a little bit more in detail in the coming slides to kind of separate those cyclists from traffic and make it a little bit more of a comfortable experience. So as we talk about these bicycle features, a lot of the improvements that we're going to be looking to do on Clare Street to Gross Road, right now it's what we call Class 2 bike lanes. That's where there's no separation between the road and where the cyclists use the roadway, as you can see here on the image on the left. We're going to be refreshing that, adding green paint where it's necessary and following the FHWA standards and guidelines for that, and also Caltrans guidance within the Caltrans right-of-way for that pavement markings. And then in the middle here, you can see we have some delineators that are on top of a plastic curb here, and there is space for water to flow through and under those delineators. This is where we'd be looking, especially within the Caltrans right-of-way, through that interchange to provide some sort of item. This may or may not be the item that is out there. We are still working with Caltrans on determining that item, but there will be some sort of delineator, whether it's just a delineator or it's a delineator on some type of plastic curb that will be out there, but that will be based on Caltrans. What they will approve. And then here on the right, we're looking to have, this is just showing you an example where the full lane has this conflict green striping where cyclists are crossing the lane and need to go from the right side of the lane to the left side of the lane. We have that right now. That's happening through the intersection of Gross Road and Auto Plaza. That's through an intersection you normally don't want to have your cyclists. It's not preferable to have them be switching from the right side to the left side through an intersection. So we're moving that to the north side of that intersection, and we're adding a little bit more pavement markings to make this a little bit more aware for cyclists as a zone for them to cross over from the right side to the left side. On top of that, the wayfinding signage, this will also help with that cyclist safety. This is some examples here of the different signs. So if you look here on the left, these are some pavement markings. Obviously, those are not for State Route 1, but those are the types of pavement markings that we would have out there. And then on the signal pole, we have a sign. Maybe you can't really make it out from here, but there's a sign on there that lets you know which direction you can access with those from your lane. Are you getting north or southbound? So just real quick, I'm going to run through here. Just want to be able to at least show all of the improvements starting from Clare's Street and then work our way north here. This whole section here is not within Caltrans right-of-way. So we have a little bit more say what's going on here. But as you can see, we're adding green pavement markings where needed. And this will all of this road section of the roadway will be rehabilitated with that PDR that we went over earlier. And we'll be looking to add the wayfinding pavement markings in advance and also advanced signage as well. Right here, this is where Caltrans right-of-way starts. This is showing Gross Road, Auto Plaza, and also the southbound State Route ramp area. As you can see through here, this if we're looking on the bottom, where 41st Avenue is going northbound, you can see we've made it so the cyclists now stay to the right of traffic through the intersection, and then there's a more enhanced area for the cyclists to be able to cross over. And we've worked closely with Caltrans on this design, and Caltrans is supportive of this design for us to be able to enhance the safety and accessibility for cyclists. And then on top of that, we also have you can see kind of these little dots everywhere. That's signifying a delineator. So we'd have delineators about every 5 to 10 feet through here in the bike buffer to kind of separate cyclists from traffic. This is why we call it a separated bikeway. And that some of the heavier movements, especially, are these through movements through the interchange. And so we're providing that separation with the delineators. And then this is taking us to the north of the project where our confarm is at the city right away, just south of Corey Street. And as you can see, those delineators continue through over the structure, through the interchange, and we have a lot of enhanced pavement markings for the cyclists so that it is more visible to general purpose traffic. So looking at these pedestrian and bicycle features here, as you can see, we're going to be adding high visibility crosswalks for pedestrian safety, and that's going to be the same throughout the whole project. At all crosswalks, there will be these high visibility piano bar crosswalks. And then we talked about the bike buffer with delineators already. I think one big change here that you would see from today, actually, where you can, let's see here, how do I explain this? So where you see the full lane with bike transition striping, today there's a stop bar that goes all the way across there for all three of those lanes going in the northbound direction on 41st Avenue. We're going to change that so just the inside two lanes would stop at that stoplight. And once traffic to access State Route 1 southbound has gone through the Gross Road intersection, they don't have to stop anymore. They can just continue through and get on the freeway. So I'll clear them out and ease the congestion and improve operations. Here's an example of what the sign is going to look like. I just kind of threw it on there. It's not the exact size it's going to be, so not to scale. Should have put NTS on there. But that's kind of the idea. This is on 41st Avenue. The signage that we'll have on the signal pole. We'll also have the sign in advance as well around the corner because this part of the 41st curves a little bit. So we're going to have another sign that's just on a pole on the side of the road so that you can also see this lane selection. And this is going to be combined with that pavement marking that we're going to show on the next slide. And so you see here's where these pavement markings are going to go. They'll tell you State Route 1, and they'll tell you north or south. So you know in advance, and especially with that curve in the road on the right, as you can see there, that's really going to help people know what lane they need to be in. This is on Gross Road. This is the sign we're gonna have on the signal pole there as well. That's gonna let you know, hey, you want to go northbound, get in the far left turn lane, and so on. And then this shows the advanced pavement markings as well. So if right when you turn onto Gross Road from SoCal, let's say, you'll see those pavement markings and be able to help you with your wayfinding to be able to access State Route 1. So looking at the expected timeline. So we're working through with Caltrans right now. We've submitted a few documents already, and we're getting their feedback and approval on some of the various items. As I alluded to earlier, we have a little bit of say, the city does, but in city council, but at the end of the day, Caltrans has to approve the section that's within Caltrans right of way. And we need to stick with what their standards are, and that's what we're trying to work with for continuity of the project. We're looking to get that done sometime the end of summer, really this year, and then in winter, towards the end of this year, put it out for bid, and then start construction in spring 2026. We really want to make sure that we're limiting any impact to the community, and so we want to have construction start in spring. So there's not too many rainy days and impacts to construction. And I think that is
I just have a few follow-up slides to that presentation. Thank you. There is some community outreach associated with this project. This has to go to the Bicycle Advisory Committee and the Elderly Disabled Committee. Those are TACs of the SCCRTC, of which we got a grant for this project. And then additional outreach to those adjacent property owners and the general broad public about this project, as 41st is our main arterial and really affects everyone. Next slide, please. The fiscal impact of this project, we do have a grant of about $700,000 left in construction funds and future dedicated roadway funds expected, SB1, Measure D, in 25-26 should cover the remaining costs. But again, we have not completed our Caltrans process, so there may be further modifications. So we will have an updated cost and to present to you with the fiscal year 25-26 budget. Next slide. And then lastly, we also have the 41st Avenue corridor plan that just kicked off. I want to say last week we did a site visit out there with a consultant. And just to remind everyone, the purpose of that is really to look at long-term enhancing safety, green space, and really community making on the 41st Avenue corridor. Different parts of that corridor have different constraints, such as being in the Caltrans right-of-way, and then also geometric constraints of just how much right-of-way we have. So in the area of this project, there's obviously portion above Gross Road that's in the Caltrans right-of-way that really has minimal options to be affected by the planning project. And then from Clares to Ghost Road, we have some geometry issues where a lot of the improvements we're making for bicycle safety we're making with this project, and there are really other limited options unless you do hardscape improvements. So removing turn pockets, redoing medians, modifying sidewalks, which are hardscape projects and expensive projects that aren't really in the scope of this project and are longer term projects. And really the pavement maintenance as identified in our PMP is significant at this time. Next slide. So with that, both Chris and I are available for any questions the council may have.
Thank you. Truly a lot of moving parts there. We'll come to council questions. I'll start with Councilmember Peterson. Excuse me. Jensen
today.
Thank you.
Jessica, could you go back through the just the funding mechanism, how this is funded, and does it have any impact on our pavement management plan, just as an overview?
Sure. So there is $700,000 left in construction funds from our RTC grant. That's also the STIP grant, is the funding mechanism that Chris referred to. And then we have dedicated funds from SB1 and Measure D. We had anticipated this project in the PMP within the 5-year plan. And so there are funds that we have currently and funds that we expect this coming fiscal year that should cover the remainder of the balance of the construction of this project.
Okay. And I think it's I think if we look at our payment management plan, this might not have ranked up as much of a need as other streets in our community, but just due to the grants that we have, it's just the most prudent thing to do to move this project forward to take advantage of that at that situation, right?
It is in our 5-year plan, so it was between 2022 and 2027, but it was elevated to this coming fiscal year because of the grant funds we received.
Yeah, I was just going to guess the point I was getting to is just to our community is if they looked at where their street was and if this section was a little bit lower, it's because we're taking advantage of the great opportunity of having the additional funding. So I just want to be sensitive to that as I think we should look at the streets. And a lot of times when we go through our pavement management plan, we talk about, the investment of those, doing the streets early, to help keep those costs. But I mean, what a wonderful opportunity of so much grant money that we have for that. I think it's just important to highlight that. And then just one quick question. You said September starting. Sorry, what's the duration of a project like this look like?
Construction duration?
Yeah.
Usually, so the construction for this, the actual construction will probably only take 3 to 4 months. Obtaining some of the items, there are 2 signal poles that will be replaced at Gross Road and Auto Plaza, 41st Avenue. That might take some time. There's a lot of things going on right now that are delaying items coming in, and that could take up to 3 months to get those delivered. So in total, if you are looking at obtaining the items and then construction, looking around 6 months.
And then I know this isn't a direct reflection of anybody on our staff, but it seems like these projects that come into play, and then it's like, oh, and by the way, we're shutting off this, and we're shutting off northbound one, Highway 1 with some. So I just hope that we have a good understanding from Caltrans on what their projects are doing, that if we started a project like this and then all of a sudden there's a big impact that they're planning on doing. So just not coordination from our part, but I hope that we can communicate with them and forecast out so the least amount of impact as possible. So, but thank you. Appreciate it.
Councilmember Warbach.
Can you bring back that map of that stretch between Claire's and the highway? There's that section kind of right in front of the men's warehouse that I drive through every day. Currently, there's maybe about 130 foot of a conflict area. No, not
One more. This one, yeah.
Yes, there's currently 130 feet conflict area when the bike lane goes from one side to cross like a car lane to the other side between the turn lane onto Claire's. And now it looks like that has become a 400-foot area of conflict. Is the idea that the cars will only cross kind of the green dotted area, or can they cross the bike lane in that entire stretch?
Yeah, no, the vehicles are not permitted to cross for that entire stretch. They're only permitted to cross where that green striping is. This takes into account a few different things of traffic queuing, a lot of vehicles turning right there. This also is a right lane must turn right. That lane ends there. And so that also has some impacts as well. Yeah.
I just have some concerns. I mean, I get, to me, in my mind, there is a potential one conflict point at the turn sign. If we have kept the bike lane just flush to the edge of near the curb, there would just be one potential conflict point at the turn versus this whole stretch of a conflict area. It's just really sketch for bikers because I drive that all the time. And I just worry about the safety.
Right. No, I'm there with you. Yeah, I understand your concern. I think that's very fair and valid point. You know, with this project, one thing is we're very constrained. All of these lanes, usually you don't want to go less than 10 feet for a traffic lane. We're already at 10 feet for all of these traffic lanes. Now, when you have a right lane must turn right, one thing that can happen is if you keep the cyclists on the right side for too long, vehicles, once they see that sign, right lane must turn right, they're ready to turn right. And having a cyclist in the middle of a right turn lane can cause them to not be paying attention to the cyclists. You usually want to have it, if you can, happen at the beginning of that right turn lane. So now you can focus on turning right. Ideally, if we were to come through here, and that would make this project very expensive, if you were to do a lot of this hardscape improvements, is ideally, I would want that cyclist even raised up on the same level as the sidewalk and separated from the roadway. And then when you get to the intersection, we would do what we call a protected intersection. And there'd be like a little median island where the cyclists could then cross safely. And we also can control that a little bit more with the visibility from the right lane must turn right. But once we get the cyclist to the left of the right turn lane, for this instance, especially accessing the Capitola Mall in this location, it's actually reducing the number of conflicts for that cyclist. In general. Now, I can't control if somebody's going to break the law. So that's something that comes on to enforcement. And you know, we're applying the appropriate signage and also pavement markings. One thing that always can be done to really highlight the section for the bike is more green pavement that you use that really illustrates, hey, this isn't an area for you to cross. So it's something that we're working through to address for that, for this project. But in general, with the right lane must turn right, you don't want to have the cyclist be crossing in the middle of a right turn lane.
Is there any way to make that section safer? Because I know there are those raised, what do you call them? The raised things.
Oh, like the delineators.
Yeah.
Delineator. I would love to do that. So right now that lane is only 5 feet wide. So the delineators, they're about 8 inches wide. So usually kind of, let's call it a foot that you would need. So we would have to take that foot from somewhere else, and all the lanes are 10 feet. So it's a pretty hard decision to be made. And even working with Jessica and Kailash, we talked this through pretty thoroughly, and we're pretty constrained right now. We could fix it. but it would come up, it could double the cost of the project because a lot of the concrete work in order to be able to address that.
Yeah, I don't think I even know that as a driver. Are we not supposed to drive across the double? I should know this. Double white. The double white. We're not supposed to drive through the double.
Yeah, so a solid white line, you're not supposed to cross a solid white line.
I do know that. I do know that, guys. So folks should be just crossing that green segmented area.
Correct. Yeah, where there's that conflict striping for the cyclists, that's where the general traffic should be crossing.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Councilmember Peterson.
Okay, thanks. Super excited about this project. I think it'll bring out a lot of benefit. I'm curious regarding Councilmember Orbach's comments. The delineators that you're speaking of that are 8 inches, that's low things, low to the ground, or are those the pillars that are up further along the road?
Oh yeah, no, the 8 inches is the width. Sorry of that. So yeah, they're about, I believe they're about 3 feet tall. The delineators.
Yeah, sure. Okay, so it's the same ones that are in the.
They are actually, yeah. They're FG 300s is the delineator type. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That are used in the city of Capitola. That is correct. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, how many lanes are there? Like 4 lanes?
I believe
in that area.
So
I mean, is it not possible to just take 2 inches from each? Would that really make a difference for the vehicular traffic?
I think in general, 10 feet is pretty, it's the bare minimum that you usually want to go. If you have any trucks that are driving, you start considering their truck mirrors. 10 feet is pretty tight. You pretty much have to drive perfectly straight in order to not go into the adjacent lane.
Okay, my only other question, and I apologize if this has been answered already, but do you have information about the impact to traffic between Claire's and Highway 1?
Yeah, so in general, we did do as part of the Caltrans requirement for this, we did need to do a traffic analysis memorandum. And in that traffic analysis memorandum, traffic will not be worsened. In some locations, it will be improved. Kind of the bigger aspect of this project is, the pavement rehabilitation and then also improving the accessibility for cyclists.
I just know that area already gets backed up a lot, so I'm sure people would be concerned that it could get worse, but that's good to hear that it's not going to be. Thank you.
Correct.
No questions. Thank you.
Great. I have a couple questions. Traffic does get worse every day, unfortunately, but I'm staying on 41st Avenue, but I'm going to talk about a couple right-hand turns onto 41st Avenue, specifically the westbound. You're coming on to 41st towards the freeway. First one is at Claire's. There's a no turn on red at that location. So drivers come up to it and they're in the right lane. They're waiting for it to go green. Light goes green for them, but there's so much gridlock in the intersection that they have to sit there and they wait. And then they wait till the next cycle. And the same thing happens again. And sometimes it's happened up to 3 times before people can get through out of Claire's to turn right onto 41st Avenue because of the gridlock. I don't know how that could be addressed, but I hear that constantly because I live right in that area. And then the same also for Capitola Road westbound onto 41st. Can you explain a little bit why we have those no turning on the red?
I'll defer to Jessica. I was not a part of Capitola.
Oh, no worries. Kimley Horn, different staff on that project. So that was our Capitola Road improvement project that was completed around 18 months ago. There's also our adaptive system. So every light that the city owns and that Caltrans owns and the corridor is on a time, not a time system, but an adaptive system that basically coordinates you getting through the corridor without stopping. So that does affect the cross traffic and at some points during the day reduces that cross traffic across Capitola Road or across Claire's, depending on the other traffic going around. So that is some of the difference that longtime residents have noticed in traffic movements. The no right turn on red for that particular intersection. So if you're at the Wells Fargo and then turning up north towards the city limits,
is to facilitate the bike box there. So part of that project is part of most of our pavement improvement projects was a bike safety concern. That's where all the green striping came from. And the bike box is to facilitate turns in and out of the intersection. Since that is not a free right turn, it is a straight right turn. And we have the bike box there. We can't allow a right turn on red. So we have to sign it no right turn on red to protect the safety of the bicycles. I would let Chris expand on that a little bit more since he's the traffic engineer about why that is, but that's why that's there. And the council, we did talk about that during the council meeting of the approval of the design of that project.
Yeah, with them also having a no right turn on 41st onto Gross towards the auto center, it's going to actually impact it even more. So maybe we should get a stoplight camera for all of the people that do the grid locking every day, because it's really, really become an issue. People have to wait for.
One element of this project, because I know exactly what you're talking about, the right turn on Claire's came about probably 10 years ago, and I can't remember if it was the chief of police's recommendation at the time, because people would come up that intersection and they're looking over their shoulder, and there wasn't much pedestrian visibility there. But one of the aspects of this project that I've been explained to me is that during rush hour traffic, you can often see people getting off the freeway at 41st Avenue, coming southbound, taking the exit, waiting for the light, and then trying to jump right back on and getting in the queue. And that means those people are cutting in front in line effectively of everyone who's in the right lane on 41st, which really is driving that queue further and further back on 41st. This project, as proposed, cuts that movement out. So you can't get off the freeway and then jump back on with the FG 457 bollards that will be, I'm sorry, I mangled that, but those bollards that are proposed. So I think this project is going to help the queuing on 41st through a couple of, and there's a couple other design elements as well that I think the traffic engineer can explain. But I do know what you're talking about, that you can get stuck there coming up Claire's and it just fills up and it's like it just doesn't move.
Move for a long time. Yeah, people are quite frustrated. And again, with all the things going on throughout our county, traffic's not getting better, it's getting worse. But things that we can do to mitigate it, and maybe this will do it. I have no further questions. That'll bring us up to public comment. Seeing none, we'll bring it back to council deliberation. Start on this end.
No comments.
Yeah, just a couple comments. I am excited to see this get underway. I'm grateful for the process of the recycling of the pavement. I'm thankful for that, and it's pretty cool whoever figured that out. I'm really interested in the signage, especially for the freeway on-ramps. I struggle with that every time. I'm like, wait, north, south, where am I going? So I think the signage is going to be great. I would really like to push if we can get the plastic curbing along with the little bollards. I think that if drivers see that on the ground, I think that sort of solidifies the bike lane just a little bit more if that's within the scope of the project. I would really support installing those. And yeah, I think those are all my comments. Thank you so much for the report.
I'll just say I think this is a really great project, and thanks for all the work that you both put into this, and looking forward to it moving along. Thanks.
Ditto everyone's comments. I think this will be great. I especially love that interstate grade curb system that Jamie was talking about. We were talking on the phone, and I was like, this will be great, because I see a lot of people hop off the freeway, cut through 41st, and hop back on. And now with the interstate grade curb system, that's not going to happen anymore. So that's wonderful. Thank you.
Great presentation, good information. I'm glad we're moving forward on this. No action is needed on this, but great to see it move forward. Thank you. With that, that brings us to item 9. It'll be adjournment. Everybody stay safe, take care of one another. Meeting adjourned.